I'm in Austin, Texas. Just left the hospital and looking at this big, beautiful building. It's a big, beautiful building, man. I love glass and steel. My first trade was welding. And there's the Capitol building right there. And all these cities, man, they got big, beautiful buildings like this. And I've traveled all across this country, working mostly as a truck driver and a transient. I live in my vehicle, which is currently parked in the garage right here. And I don't have another appointment until much later. So I got a little time to walk and reflect on what's going on with me and my situation. And days like today, I really love Austin. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, another big, beautiful city. Gorgeous city, man, with bad reputations. Cities with heart. I was born in Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago, a hospital that's unfortunately shut down. Politics, and of course, money. If I was president, my first priority would, of course, be addressing the homeless situation and the mental health crisis situation. My parents met in a mental hospital in Chicago, Illinois, a long, long time ago. And they both were very unstable. But back to the reason that I'm making this video and the ideas I have. A lot of these buildings are very empty. Very, very empty. Very, very empty. And you could let the homeless stay there. I've been homeless pretty much my whole life. I've also been working my whole life. That's my hustle. Even as a little kid in Chicago, I would go out, hustle, ask guys to let me sweep their stores. And they did, man. People of all races. I walked around the city a lot. I've done a lot of construction, done a lot of truck driving, done emergency disaster relief work. And I don't party no more. My life has been so exciting, especially my childhood. Always ripping and running and exploring. But like I say, put the homeless people in these empty buildings. And a lot of them work. A lot of them love to work. People mention a lot of times how it's a lot of veterans. And it's true, man. A lot of veterans. Back when I was young, the hobos used to hop the trains. And I think some people still do it, but it's so hard and so dangerous, and they'll arrest you, they'll lock you up, do all kind of things to you. But if you put the homeless people in those buildings, those empty buildings, they wouldn't be a problem. Some would. The biggest problem is the drugs and the alcohol. And you got different types of homeless. You got the ones like myself that have just never escaped poverty. And you also got like the hippies that just hate society. They're antisocial. Now look at this. I'm downtown. I ain't got my glasses on either, so I can't see too far away. But I've been at homeless shelters and homeless camps and been to some of these tent cities in Austin, Texas. Some that pop up and go away real quick. Some of the more permanent ones that you got to walk real deep in the woods, and you'll see them from a long time away, from a distance away. Those little blue tarps that they use for the roofs, those blue tarps are lightweight. But anyway, yeah, that's a problem. That's a solution to that problem, in my opinion. These big, beautiful cities, man. And the funny thing too, like when they have these events, they'll get the homeless come in and they'll like clean us up, put us in tuxedos and stuff, and have us like set up chairs or serve the food or do all kind of things. You know, when they need the homeless, they'll use them. But yeah, the drugs are the bad thing, man. I got a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel and Facebook channel to help people deal with trauma and addiction. Addiction is the biggest problem. A lot of times, especially when I'm cleaned up, if I mention to people that I'm homeless, one thing they'll often say is, you don't look like you're homeless. If you say that or think that, you probably think in caricatures. Life is so complex. And also, one of the good things about being homeless, and one of the reasons I'm probably, so comfortable with my people, the conversations that we've had. A lot of us are smart. A lot of us experienced. A lot of us know how to do things like set fires and put out fires and deal with the wildlife. And the wildlife even reacts to us differently. Just like the birds are wild, we're wild. Raccoons and foxes and squirrels and rabbits and all the nature of the city. And it's so hot here, man. I'm from Chicago where it gets so cold. It gets hot too in the summer. A lot of people don't know that, man. Chicago boy. Just as cold as the winters are, the summers are just as hot. Anyway, yeah, I'm running for president, man. You already got a felon in the White House, and I'm not ashamed of my felony past. It's funny, the same people that have put me down for being a felon voted for Donald Trump. And now that we have a felon in the White House, maybe a next con like myself could become president. Hell, I could use the paycheck. But also, they'll put me down for being a felon. But in my situation, I was a juvenile delinquent, and I learned my lesson. What kind of piece of crap are you? You made it all the way to adulthood by staying out of trouble, usually because somebody was looking out for you, somebody with money and power and prestige. I hear about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein got convicted of being a sex trafficker, and when they locked him up, the first time he was on the work release program. Guys like myself have a hard time, not really me, but a lot of guys have a hard time getting in those work release programs. Me, they'll throw me in a work release program just because I'm such a good worker and I'm so trained. I'm trained in so many different areas, and I like working city works and stuff like that. So, if I'm not on a particularly violent charge, or if I'm not facing a violent crime, how the hell is what Jeffrey Epstein not considered a violent crime? How is he not a violent offender? But anyway, he was on this great work release program. He had to go in. He only had to be in jail so many hours, come in, clock out. He's playing golf and hanging with rich people and still running his sex trafficking operation, apparently, and whatever else he was doing. But I remember arguing with one of my cellmates who was a white supremacist. I was reading an article. Me and that particular inmate, we read a lot. And when we first saw each other, we hated each other. It was hate at first sight, of course. He's a white supremacist covered in tattoos. If you locked up with me, it's pretty clear what type of inmate I am. If you any kind of convict, you see who and what I am right away. But it was hate at first sight. About 3 months into us being cellmates, it was one of those prisons. We was both very active. I was a student. I was taking HVAC. But about 3 months in, something happened and we started getting along. And a few months after that, he got a copy of Adolf Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, in the English translation. And me and him shared books all the time. But he wouldn't let me read a copy of that Mein Kampf. And that's when, it was a good reminder, man. This dude is your cellie. This dude is y'all got to do y'all time together. Y'all have to cohabitate, but this dude is not your friend, man. You guys are really enemies, man. But he wouldn't let me read that Mein Kampf, man, because he didn't want me armed with that information. And then on top of that, he knew I can't hold water, man. I would have told all the homies everything I read. Hell, I would have probably wrote a whole bunch of dissertations based off of that Hitler book if I read it. I still never read Mein Kampf because, of course, I'm not going to go out of my way to get it. Oh, boy. But yeah, I was reading the article, and I was sympathetic to the person in the article. He was like in his late 30s or 40s, and he had caught a case for the first time, and the judge threw the book at him. And I was arguing the side like, man, this guy ain't never been in trouble before. My cellmate, he took the other side. He's like, this guy went all this time without getting in trouble, and he had no reason to get in trouble. It's different. You know, if a young person commits a crime, they should get some mercy. Maybe they didn't know any better. Maybe they didn't have no more options. But a guy that age committing a certain crime, and that's the thing too. You know, that's my whole point. Vote for me for president, Diego Don Juan. Yeah, I committed some felonies, but at least I stopped committing felonies. And I damn sure ain't gonna commit no sexual felonies. I was the type of inmate, don't ever come here. Just because you see me come here, don't come here. It's a wildlife here that definitely needs to be protected. Damn, and it's so dirty. So dirty. They're doing a good job of cleaning up the syringes these days. But anyway, just relative thoughts. No matter what happens from my doctor's appointments and visits, you know what I'm saying? I'll survive, but I might change if I have to get certain operations and stuff. And I'm not worried about those changes. Those changes might be for the best. Anyway, I think I'm gonna upload this one, man. Like, share, subscribe, all that normal jazz.